Greetings and gratitude to all life forms and life workers who have found this special appearance of Violetann Tarot. Today we will be discussing charm magic, the history and current and applications. So we have Violetann. Hello.
Hello everyone. I do lots of free readings on my channel and sometimes some talky ones as well. Please check me out if you haven't already.
And she has some 1 minute videos with charms that will kind of expand on what we're talking about. We will be referring to these videos a few times. So a few of them will be listed in the description of this video as well as her channel. So let's get right into it. Since the beginning of human history, humans liked objects. Berries, as soon as we had metal, small baubles. Humans have always liked tiny objects, and certain people would take these objects, put them in a bag, mix them up. Sometimes there would be shells, sometimes there would be bone, all these different small parcels in this one bag mixed up to give powerful readings. Over time, it's kind of been forgotten. In modern times, the tarot and other forms of divination have overtaken it. But I have loved bracelets. I have loved charms of all kinds. When I go to a yard sale, I try to pick up all the tiny charms I can, all of the strange little objects I can get that have a symbolic meaning. And I find, and others will agree with me, that the readings I give are more accurate with the charms than other forms because it's the emotional response to these small objects. So Violetann has a beautiful way of using Scrabble pieces and other types of charms to really give her a clear seeing of what the answer is and being able to give you a clear reading of what she sees. So do you want to explain a little more of that?
So I'll grab some of the charms out, but grab a little selection. So I've got lots of different ones. I've got like ones like this, which are like little ones from necklaces. I've got like I said, the Scrabble pieces, which have little letters on, and like just odd ones like this, which are like little plastic ones. Like, I don't know if you can see it very well on this camera, but it's a little plastic like sweetie. But I also have things like, I've put some things that have meaning to me that I find interesting. So I have a lot of these coins, which are coins from places I've collected. They've got pictures on, like this one's a tiger and a cub. So from the beginning, like you said before, like that people like objects, but I think it's more than that. People like pictures, because pictures can be used to tell a story no matter what culture or language you speak. You know, it's, if you see, say, like a picture of a bird, you know it's a bird. Or if you see a picture of a sun, you know it's a sunrise. Or you know the idea of brightness, light, shining, those kind of things. All the things that are linked to it all come out. And from the dawn, like, some of the first forms of writing, like the ancient Egyptians, were pictures. They're pictures. And I think, to be honest, the charms kind of embrace that as pictures, as picture messages. So it might be something like, with, say, like the star, like you might get a star up in a reading, and it might be talking about how somebody sees you as bright, or somebody sees you as very special, or even like a wish. If it's a shooting star, it might be thinking about wishing, about hopes. Yeah. Or like this one that's a rose, it might be thinking about romance, romanticness, Valentine's Day, things like that. All those kind of images they conjures up, that, like you said, it brings about ideas. But the way that I like to use them in the readings is a couple of ways. Sometimes things might be, when I'm using them in picky cards on the top, it might be the fact that it's signifying to somebody. Say, for example, you're doing pick a card and you want to know about your boyfriend, and it happens to be that your initial and their initial jumps out at you on a card. Or it happens to be that, you know, that you love flamingos and they brought you a flamingo and there's a flamingo on the card, you know. Or it might be that you did another reading and you kept on getting flamingos, 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 you know. Whatever it is, that kind of trigger kind of triggers the person's intuition that's getting drawn to it. But also, as a reader, it might trigger something in you. So you might suddenly get drawn to, say, the sea, like, say, a starfish that's from the sea or something like that. And you might be started thinking of the ocean, of water. And that might trigger you to think about water signs, or it might trigger you to think of actually you're going to meet this person near an ocean or near a beach or something like that. All those little things just trigger on your intuition, and just trigger and trigger and trigger, and just help to give you more ideas and more feelings about the situation at hand.
Yeah, and I'm going to focus on that word intuition. So with tarot, it's oftentimes memorization plus intuition. So you memorize what the cards mean, and then you use your intuition to say which part of the meaning. But with this system that we're talking about, it is entirely intuitive. There's almost no memorization. Where this one charm may mean something this one reading in this context, but the next reading it may mean something entirely different in a totally different context. So I took my reading to the level of having runes and beads at the same time. So being able to take the detail of this wooden bead, the lines of wood, and add that to the reading, plus the actual symbol of the rune, allows me to add extra depth that I may not say to the person who's receiving the reading, but me as a reader, I'm able to have more field of vision of what is actually being asked of me and what I'm actually saying, compared to a card, because a card feels very two-dimensional, where an object, a bauble, as we call them, charm, is a third-dimensional object. And it's something that has more weight to it, has length, width, and depth, has this kind of full perspective to it, which is, you know, like when you watch a movie, if it's animated, it looks fine, but if it's stop motion, like Artem, you know, Aardman animation, when you actually see the thumbprint on Wallace and Gromit, it's a lot better than, you know, than the CG animation, because it's the lights hitting it. It's a third-dimensional object instead of a two-dimensional string of code. Like, yeah, computers are beautiful, but there's still always going to be people like me who will pay Aardman Animation and other stop-motion companies because we want that thumbprint on clay.
It's having that fluidity as well of, with charms, like the one time you might pick out like one or two charms, another time you might pick out three or four, and having that having that fluidness of going, knowing that when you're pulling them out, you've got this feeling in your hands. And if you listen to your intuition and listen to, you know, if you do some energy working as well, you can feel the difference in which one needs to come out. It just feels different. It feels electrifying. It feels like it's got a life of its own. It wants to be picked up, and actually be able to go through that bag and actually go, okay, I know that this feels empty. And I've talked about it before with tarot, but like feeling like the deck's empty, or feeling like you've got everything out of the bag that needs to come out. It's just not having to worry about spreads as much. And I think that's one of the reasons why people that are doing tarot often move further and further away from spreads, because you've got the fluidity there, but you've got a lot more fluidity there with the charms, and being able to just go, this is how many I feel like I need.
Yeah, and it's so beautiful too, because the way that Violetann does charms, the way I do charms, and the way that you, viewer, may be doing charms could be three totally different ways. But that doesn't discount any of them, because charms, unlike tarot, say if someone's doing tarot totally different than you, there's a good chance they might be doing it wrong, and they might need to be informed that they're doing it wrong. But that's not the case at all with this type of divination, because the way that you do it is the way that you should be doing it until you decide to change, not when someone tells you to change. And because it's so intuitive. And if you don't have the type of charms we're talking about, use Monopoly pieces, use whatever you can, use bottle caps, use like I do as well for charms. Find things that you can use and build a system that works that can also be fluid. Because if it's too regimented, if it's too structured, you lose a lot of the fun of it. And it seems like my favorite thing about charm readings and charm magic in general is the joy it brings, the happiness it is to see this cute little awesome object in the palm of your hand, and that brings joy to me. And God bless you.
Thank you.
And that joy is such a positive thing, even if I am using bottle caps and sticks.
But it's the idea as well that they don't have to cost money, like you're saying about sticks. In theory, like with charms, you could literally get a bunch of stones and just draw pictures on them.
And
Yeah.
seeds, yeah. Stones and seeds.
Yeah, or seeds or whatever you find. It could be like you said, like bottle caps. You could decide you want letters like these Monopoly pieces things, but instead of getting these ones, you might get a bunch of bottle caps
and
then write the letters on yourself,
yeah,
or numbers, or
you could
whatever.
write the runes on the bottle caps, write the Greco alphabet, write whatever the Enochian language, write whatever you want on the bottle caps for what type of magic you're working on. If you're working with John Dee's teaching, then write what you want. If you're working with your own teaching, find what's within you. Know that all it takes is paint. Paint's at the dollar store. Paint is very cheap, and you can really make with bottle caps, with pennies or coins discarded on the ground, soda tabs, anything. If you are creative, you can make it. I tell people, if you want to be a painter, you don't need to have painting supplies. All you need is mud and sticks. If you want to build a house, you don't need building supplies. All you need is mud to build bricks. So we always have the natural resources with us. So don't be afraid if your first charm set is branches, seeds, dried berries, and fossils. Well, that's what the ancient druids used, and they didn't judge it.
I mean, like you can find so many cool little charms and stuff as well at like thrift shops and charity shops and stuff as well, that you might go, oh, like there's that bracelet and it's got a load of cool beads on it. You might decide to take it apart and use the beads, like you said about using beads. But it's just the idea that nobody's deck is the same, and it's just making it your own and making it part of you, and evolving it over time, because you might decide, I've got too many letters in it, or I've got too many of this in it, I need more pictures, or I need more. And it's actually giving yourself time to actually grow and experience it and experiment with it.
Yeah, and that's something that you will never have with the tarot. You'll never be able to take cards out of the tarot or add cards to the tarot. It's just a locked in thing.
Yeah.
Where this is something where if your friend buys you a charm bracelet and it breaks, instead of getting it repaired, you can use that charm bracelet for readings to honor the friend. Even after they pass away, you will still feel that friendship through this object. And this is something that everybody has objects that mean something to you. Oftentimes they're very small. And if you can, so for me, in one of my charm kits, my uncle passed away when I was young and he was in the military. So they shot a rifle salute at his funeral. And so my grandpa gave me one of the bullet shells from his funeral. So I have this bullet that I use for readings. And the fact that this bullet that is something that would have just been discarded as something without value, because it represents my uncle who passed away, it allows me to talk to his spirit through this tiny little piece of.
It invokes memories as well, and the memories are so powerful for you to be able to empathize. Ooh.
Anything else you want to add on this topic as we winding down here, Violetann?
I think the main thing is, don't allow yourself to be constricted, like you're saying. Don't allow yourself to feel constricted, because they're all just tools at the end of the day. They're all just tools to help you basically hone your intuition. So don't feel like you have to do it a certain way. You have to have things that look a certain way to actually read, because you don't. It's about your own intuition, actually building that up.
Yeah, and just follow your excitement is what I'll end this with. If you're excited about this type of charm magic, then do it. If it doesn't excite you, then find something that does. Because that excitement is really where the most powerful magic lies. Is when you wake up and you, man, I can't wait. First thing in the morning, I can't wait to open my bag of charms and spread them out in the morning sun and see what's happening today. When you love it so much that the first thing you think about is it, that's when you know you're on the right path. And for me, charms is definitely that. I love making bracelets and jewelry for other people, and you can find more about that on my social media. But I say, audience, thank you for finding this broadcast, and I look forward to seeing you all next time. Thank you, Violetann.
Thank you.